So earlier today, a recording was leaked of a telephone conversation between Julian Assange and a lawyer from the office, one of Hillary's lawyers, right? State Department. And this is Julian Assange warning the State Department that all of their diplomatic cables are about to be dumped on the internet unredacted. Okay? Now, at first I was a little confused because I knew about this conversation because I'd seen just a tiny bit of it. And I think I showed you this clip before. If you look over here, it's like a 3-minute clip. It's on YouTube, right? So this is, here you go.
Yep, so Julian Assange is the founder of WikiLeaks. Okay, and all of the US Department of State cables, we have intelligence that they are about to be put on the web unredacted, not by us. And I would like to speak to her about this.
Right, so they called to speak with Hillary Clinton. So they're like, yeah, we'll call you back and whatever. Now, that's just a 3-minute clip. What we got today is over an hour long. Very, very interesting because, once again, this clip, it completely debunks this myth that WikiLeaks were reckless and callous. So I'm just going to play it to you very quickly. All right. I think James O'Keefe posted this, and this was released by Project Veritas. So let's take a listen. By the way, interestingly enough, for some reason, Twitter, they flagged it, which is odd. But there you go.
Yeah, so the situation is that we have intelligence that the State Department database archive of 250,000 diplomatic cables, including declassified cables, is being spread around and is to the degree that we believe that within the next few days it will become public, and we're not sure of what the timing could be, imminently or within the next few days to a week. And there may be some possibility to stop it.
And are these, and who would be releasing these cables? Is this WikiLeaks?
No, we would not be releasing them. Well, this is Daniel Dumscheit-Berg, a previous employee that we suspended last August.
And so he apparently has access to the material that WikiLeaks also has?
Yes, that's correct.
And he has access to everything that you have, is that right?
That's correct.
Okay, and that includes classified as well as the unclassified cables?
That's correct.
I see. And in terms of what they took, does that mean that they now have the ability themselves, without your control or authorization, to make this as available as they want? Is this now entirely
That's correct.
in their...
And there's no attempted redaction program and no attempted harm minimization. In case there are any individuals who haven't been warned, that they should be warned. So the material, there is an encrypted version of the materials on the internet somewhere that we do not control. One doesn't actually need to convey the material itself. One only needs to convey the location of the material and its encryption key. There is another possibility, which is the taking down of those files. That is a degree of research and effort that we do not have the capacity to do. It is. There are not so many of them.
And you know all the locations of them, you think?
We know several, and it's probably not that hard to find the others.
Can you provide us with that location information?
I can encourage other people to do so. Our view is that it's more your problem than it is ours, but we have been calling the State Department and the embassy for over a day trying to explain the urgency, and they have not called back other than this call.
Well, I appreciate what you've told us, Mr. Assange.
All right, man. Let me break this down for you, because this was brought up, of course, in court when I was covering the hearing, right? The extradition hearing. So, you have. So what is the allegation, right? The allegation is that, well, one of them, there's 18 counts, but they're saying that, Julian Assange, WikiLeaks, they endangered people's lives. And you've heard this from Hillary Clinton. You've heard this from Sarah Palin. You name it. Near attendant, blah, 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 right? Which is hilarious. Like, as if murdering, torturing, kidnapping people is not the greater crime here. Oh, no, let's ignore all of that. Let's talk about imaginary spies or soldiers that were hurt, quote unquote, by WikiLeaks. Again, I remind you, the DOD, okay, they had a whole task force assembled, and they concluded not a single person was hurt by WikiLeaks revelations. Not a single one. They couldn't find a single goddamn case. Not one. Nevertheless, they're saying that, look, Julian Assange is so irresponsible. Julian Assange is so callous. He just dumped all of these unredacted cables online. Complete nonsense. Dude, they spent a year redacting cables, going through them. I mean, the process is beyond exhaustive, okay? So many people testified during the extradition hearing to that effect. People who work directly as media partners with WikiLeaks, right? So, I mean, just to give you an example, Stefania Marizzi, Italian investigative journalist, right? I interviewed her right here on the channel. Go and watch the interview. Just amazing, awesome talking to her. And she actually submitted a witness statement during the Assange hearing. And just listen to what she had to say, because I asked her specifically about this.
Completely false that WikiLeaks was not was dealing with these documents in a reckless way. Quite the opposite. It was the first time, believe me. I mean, I have 19 years experience in journalism, 14 in investigative journalism, and it was the first time that we were required to work with such strict rules, using encryption all the time. Never discuss on the phone, never discuss on the email. So it was the very first time. Even my colleagues working on very complicated and sensitive investigation on mafia never used this kind of very careful procedure, and they never use encryption and never use secure communication like the one I have used for the WikiLeaks files. Right. So it was.
Okay, you heard that. Here's my interview with Josh Dougherty from Iraq body count. So he worked on the Iraq war logs, right? I asked him as well about the OPSEC. I asked him as well about the same thing. Look what he had to say.
During the past decade, we've heard oftentimes that WikiLeaks work method and work ethic being described as callous and reckless, and that the publication of these cables was reckless. How would you personally describe the operational security that was being used by media partners with WikiLeaks and the redaction process itself?
Well, I think at that time I'd spent about 2 months in London with all these other groups working on the documents, and the idea that that WikiLeaks or the other partners were callous about it is ridiculous. It's not true at all. It was actually a very big issue. It was one of the reasons why the release of the documents was originally scheduled for September, and it was pushed back to October, mainly around the redaction issue. So I think they were taking it very seriously, and from what I remember of the whole redaction issue, I wasn't involved in the Afghanistan releases, but from what I've heard about that and what people were saying about that, the WikiLeaks didn't really have a...
So look, man, I mean, you got multiple journalists and people involved with WikiLeaks testifying in court, right here with me in the interviews as well. First-hand knowledge, telling you how serious they took this. I mean, even more so than other traditional publishers and outlets. That's number one. Okay? Number two, this audio recording that was leaked today, and we had a short excerpt of Assange attempting to reach Hillary Clinton from before. We already knew he'd done this, but now we have the full convo. You know that WikiLeaks was anything but reckless. I mean, this is a joke to even suggest that they willingly or even inadvertently endangered people's lives. Again, it's not even true, and that never happened. So complete, utter fabrication. They only say this in order to justify the attack on Julian Assange, just because, he exposed U.S. war crimes. He exposed their empire. That's what it's all about, right? And what happened, how these documents, the cables, how they were dumped. I mean, again, if you watch the coverage, my coverage of the hearing, we went into detail about this, but essentially WikiLeaks, they kept getting attacked with denial of service attacks, right? So I'm going to go ahead here and safely assume that the US government was in part responsible, but you had people trying to take down their website, basically, right? Trying to hit their servers constantly. And so what WikiLeaks then did is they told people to copy their website, to mirror the website, and host it themselves. The idea was that, it would be impossible then to take WikiLeaks offline because there would be so many people hosting it. There would be too many servers for it to be completely shut down, right? It would be decentralized. Now, what happened, at least, what's his name again? Kolthoff, I think was his name. So he's a computer scientist. He testified in the hearing. He went into detail about this, that people mirrored the site not according to the method that WikiLeaks provided, and must have inadvertently copied the file containing the unredacted cables, the full cables. However, this file was encrypted. The other issue is that you had Dominic Domscheit-Berg. So this guy was also in part of WikiLeaks until he had a feud with Assange, and then he tried to go and make his own website called OpenLeaks or something. He also took the files with him, okay? Among others, which he destroyed. Stuff about the Bank of America, about... what else was in there? I can't remember the other topics, but, things that eventually never got released because he destroyed them. So he also took them with him. Now, where did the password come from, right? Because the encrypted file, you can't do anything with it. David Lee, this Guardian journalist, publishes a book. And this moron, look what he does. He literally names one of the chapters in his book using the password to the encrypted file. I mean, what the hell is wrong with you? Why would you do that? So David Lee releases the password, okay, and he then claims, oh, I thought it's a temporary password. I didn't know. That's his claim. And we mentioned Dominik Domscheit-Berg, right? So this German newspaper called Der Freitag, and if you listen to this new recording that just came out with Julian Assange, right, the full conversation, he says that German and Danish media we're talking about it, that the file is online, okay? It's out there. So, it was just a question of time. It's just a matter of time before people put two and two together. And lo and behold, all of a sudden, all of the diplomatic cables are released on the internet, dumped, unredacted, the full set, not by WikiLeaks. And this was pointed out in court, and it's still up here on Twitter. Take a look. Look at this, September 1st, 2011. Download the full unredacted WikiLeaks cables here. So they started appearing on torrent sites, also on Cryptome.org. Look at the date and the timestamp. It's still up there. You can go see it yourself right now. 31st of August, 2011. WikiLeaks hadn't published any of this. I mean, the founder of the website, John Young, literally submitted a witness statement at the hearing in September saying, hello, I uploaded the unredacted cables. No one's ever arrested me, and no one's ever asked me to take them down. So David Lee, Domscheit-Berg, no one's gone after them. Same thing for John Young. And I mean, to be fair, they shouldn't either, right? We're not saying that either, because these cables should be out there. We should know about the torture. We should know about the corruption. We should know about the imperialism. So we're not saying that, but the point here is that they're lying. The prosecution is lying. And all of these corrupt bastards in the media are lying about Assange as well. The next day, The Guardian and Le Monde and Spiegel, all of these these media partners that worked with WikiLeaks, that profited, that capitalized, that benefited from these explosive revelations, they did a 180 and they're suddenly condemning WikiLeaks. Because, after Cryptome.org uploaded the set of cables and they were already online, then WikiLeaks was like, okay, well, here they are. Since people have already uploaded them, here they are. And it's funny because in court, what the prosecution then said was that, okay, well, even if that's true, WikiLeaks added a search function, making it easier to access these cables. And so therefore, WikiLeaks is more nefarious. Again, moving the goalposts every goddamn second. They can't get their story straight. They keep fucking lying. Unbelievable. So once again, let me make this as clear as possible. Julian Assange and WikiLeaks and all the people they worked with, all the media partners, spent ages trying to redact these cables, right? To make it as safe as possible. WikiLeaks did not publish the unredacted cables first. Their hand was forced by people who had, gotten hold of the encrypted file and of the password. And by the way, funnily enough, Glenn Greenwald at the time, I found this great piece that he wrote, like a day later, I think it's 2nd of September. And he just sums it up perfectly over here. So what happened here was that their hand was forced by the reckless acts of the Guardians Lee and Domscheit-Berg. One key reason access to these unredacted cables was so widely distributed is that Lee, in his December 2010 book about the work he did with WikiLeaks, published the password to these files, which was given to him by Julian Assange to enable his reporting on the cables. Lee claims, and there's no reason to doubt him, that he believed the password was only valid for a few days and would expire by the time his book was published. That belief turned out to be false because the files had been disseminated on the BitTorrent file sharing network with that password embedded in them. Lee's publication of the WikiLeaks password in his book thus enabled widespread access to the full set of cables. But the key point is this. Even if Lee believed that particular password would no longer be valid, what possible point is there in publishing to the world a specific password used by WikiLeaks or divulging the types of passwords it uses to safeguard its data? 100%. Exactly. Exactly. I mean, I couldn't put it better myself. I couldn't have said it better myself. So, you know, I don't know if this is going to lead to anything. This new recording that's been published today. Definitely go listen to it. It really shows you how, you know, Assange was trying to contact the U.S. Embassy, the State Department, Hillary Clinton, and then they wouldn't even send someone personally. Like they didn't. It's like they didn't even understand or want to understand the urgency of what he was trying to tell them. And he even suggested, like, you know, we can't take legal action because they're not our files technically, but you could do something about that. You even have the, I'm paraphrasing here, you even have the technological capacities to maybe take down the files, right? Given that they're a state actor. So he's trying to help them. So you want to come here and tell me that he was reckless and callous and trying to endanger people's lives? I mean, this is a joke. This is completely fabricated nonsense. Utter rubbish. I think Julian Assange was too fucking kind. He should have told them to go fuck themselves. He tried to help them, and look what happened to him. They still put him in jail. They're still trying to jail him for 175 years. Fuck them. It just goes to show you that all of these smears about Assange, all of these lies, I mean, it's repeated without, without concern, without any interest in the truth. And maybe you guys have seen this 2 days ago, but some pastor who's allegedly close to Trump, he tweeted something out which unfortunately turned out to be false. So what he tweeted out at first was that Trump is going to pardon Assange. And then he came back an hour later and said that regarding Assange tweet, inadvertent tweet, faulty source, please disregard. I mean, that was such a letdown. That was just heartbreaking, honestly. I don't even know what to say, man. What? How could you post that unless you were 100% sure? Why would you get people's hopes up like that? That's just really a huge letdown. And just on a final note, I don't even really like that term pardon in the case of Assange. Yes, obviously the extradition request and the indictment should be dropped. Yes, but when you say pardon, it's like you're accepting that he did something bad or that he's guilty. He's not. I mean, he's not even American to begin with. He didn't do anything in America. He doesn't owe the United States a goddamn thing. And even if he were American, and even if this had happened in the United States, he still didn't break any laws. And that's why you should be afraid, because this is an attack on press freedoms. This is an attack on journalists everywhere. They're reaching their tentacles across the goddamn Atlantic. They're going to such lengths to set this legal precedent here and to send a message and make an example out of him, right? So, I mean, I get the idea when people say, yeah, he should be pardoned. I get the sentiment, but it's it's like you're saying he's guilty of something. He's not guilty of anything. It's the fucking United States that's guilty of murdering and committing genocide and conquering and plundering other countries and other peoples. That's the real crime here. Okay, and he exposed that, and that's why they're after him. And I mean, okay, with Snowden, again, I'm not a lawyer, but you know, from covering this stuff, I mean, I'm sure he must have signed some kind of contract, given that he was, you know, a contractor to the NSA and he is a U.S. citizen. But nonetheless, he's not guilty of anything. I mean, look, the guy's a hero. I mean, even the courts now are ruling, making decisions and rulings, citing the revelations that Snowden and Glenn published. That's how important they are. I mean, it can't be overstated enough, right? The guy's a hero. They're all heroes, these whistleblowers. And, you know, when you have scum like Neera Tanden or, I mean, Hillary Clinton saying that, oh, they have blood on their hands. You have blood on your hands. Look who's talking. So, you know, I only wish that, you know, Trump pardons Snowden and Assange or drops the, you know, indictments against them and all the other whistleblowers. But I don't think that's happening, unfortunately. I think that, and definitely not with Biden. I mean, you saw me, I asked Chris Hedges his opinion, and it was, you know, it's the same as mine. It's just like fantasy. It's hilarious. I mean, not that they're being prosecuted. What's hilarious is that some people think Joe Biden has a shred of humanity in him. That's what's hilarious. I mean, Biden was the one calling up foreign ministries and telling them to reject Snowden's asylum request. Do you think he's going to come and help Assange or Snowden now? Come on, man. The guy is literally personally involved in his persecution. It's just, they're bastards. They really are. But without a shadow of a doubt, man, you know, Snowden, Assange, Chelsea Manning, all of them, they're heroes. And the things they exposed, I mean, horrific, but we need to know. And there you go. There you go. Decision on the hearing comes out December 4th. So that's, January 4th. So that's less than a month away. Fingers crossed, you know, that the extradition request is dropped. Fingers crossed, man. Fingers crossed.